What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Real Bodybuilding Podcast. I am here at the office. It's Good Friday, Easter weekend. I didn't want to bother the boys with a group podcast today, so I'm going to take this opportunity to answer some of your questions by myself and get you guys something out today for you guys to watch while you eat your meals or do your cardio or whatever else. And without wasting any time, I'm going to jump right into it. I got a bunch of questions here on my Instagram. Thought it'd be fun to do this. You guys seem to be enjoying them. So here we go. Joseba asks, when was the first time you felt like you could make it in the bodybuilding industry? I think there has to be a level of belief from the very beginning, but I never started bodybuilding to become a pro or make a living at it. It wasn't until after I did my first show that I realized, hey, I kind of like this and I want to keep doing it. It would be cool to get paid to do this because of how much I love it. So really the payment was just a way for me to do something I love. It wasn't like, it's the reverse of what I think people do nowadays where they're like, well, I can make money bodybuilding. It's like, no, I was like, I want to bodybuild. So let's see if I can make money doing it so I can do this thing full time. As far as when I thought I could finally do it, like in my mind, like consciously, I think it was when I was doing the national level. I was at the national level and I was like, people were really saying like, hey, this guy could win. This guy looks like he has a good physique. And I won my class 3 times. I didn't get my pro card until my fourth tryout, but I won my class 3 times. And pretty early on at the national level, people were like, hey, you have a pretty good physique and you could probably do something with this. At the time though, Canadians weren't getting a lot of contracts and stuff like that. So I didn't know if it was gonna be possible for me to break that barrier from the Canada to the US and get the US companies to sponsor me and things like that. Muscle Tech at the time was a Canadian brand, but they were obviously massive in the US. They were probably the biggest supplement company at the time. And they reached out to me before I got my pro card and asked me if I wanted a contract. That was also an indicator that I'm like, hey, and contracts at the time were very different. So if Muscle Tech reaches out to you and says, hey, we want to sponsor you and we want to sign you and we want to give you money, you start to think, okay, this is like something real now. This isn't just me working a part-time job and trying to slave away so I can get on stage. And this whole thing is just a hobby, because I really feel like until you start getting paid to bodybuild, it's not a career. You can call yourself a competitive bodybuilder because you're competing. But I think until you start getting paid to do it, it's not a career. So once Muscle Tech reached out to me, I'm like, okay, maybe I can make this something real. So I would have to say the moment I really thought like, hey, I can do this was probably around that time, 2005, after I won my second super heavyweight title at the Canadian Nationals. And then Muscle Tech reached out to me shortly after that. I thought, okay, I think this is something real. And then the next year I got my pro card in 2006 and I inked a deal with Muscle Tech and the rest is kind of history. So I don't know why money was the validation of it. I didn't never want to bodybuild like as a hobby. I didn't want to like work a job and bodybuild and like I could have done that in the gym, but like I didn't want to be a competitive bodybuilder and try and work some other job somewhere so I could just put together enough money to compete. I wanted to really earn a living bodybuilding. So I think other people's answer might be different. It might be like, well, I knew when I stood next to so-and-so and I compared that I could be a pro bodybuilder. Those things do exist. But for me, it was like, it didn't become a reality until I could cash a check from it. So I'm like, hey, this is now a real thing. Like, this is my job. And then it became, okay, now I can do this for real. So then the race was on at that time. Because then I was like, okay, if I'm going to get paid for it, this check is going to go away if I don't perform. So now that I know I can get paid for it, I have to get better so I can get paid more, or at least keep my living so that I can call this a career and do this as a career. So I say 2005, 2006 was probably that time. Looking back at your career, what years were most enjoyable and why? Did you enjoy them as much as you could then? I will say as a whole, I did not enjoy my bodybuilding career as much as I should have. And I know that sounds really silly because I did something I love for a long time. But I was hyper focused on getting better. I was hyper focused on being good enough. I was hyper focused on making sure that the judges liked what they saw, and hyper focused on progressing every time and not showing up with the same package and things like that. So that hyper focus you think is like, well, that's a good thing, right? But at the same time, sometimes you got to take a step back. And I don't think I was ever able to really take a step back and go, you know what? This is something amazing. I get to travel. I get to get on stage and compete. I get to train for a living. Like it never really sunk in to me how special that was, because people work hard. People work real fucking jobs. Like, you know, go to work in construction, or they own a business, or they own a restaurant, or they work a factory job somewhere. Like people work fucking hard, and not everybody gets to do what they love for a living. And even though bodybuilding is difficult and can be hard in some regards, it's not hard. Like it's not laborious. You know, you're not like, oh man, I can't put in another hour. Like, no, you go to the gym for an hour and a half, you work your ass off, and then you go home and you eat and you rest. And yes, there is suffering when you're dieting, and yes, all that. But I never really sat back and thought to myself, this is a blessing that I get to do this and get paid for it. And I regret that. That's one thing I do regret. I wish I could go back just to understand how special it was that I got to do the thing I love. And I try and express that to people now that compete, that are pros. When they talk to me about stuff, I'm like, take a minute, sit backstage, enjoy the show. Like, yes, work your ass off. Yes, focus on winning, but just take a minute and understand that just don't take it for granted. Because I think I took it for granted, and that was the problem, right? So that's that. As far as my most memorable years, I would say I really enjoyed my years with Hani because I progressed in a way that I really liked. Like I really liked what I was seeing. So I would say 2009, I had some good competitive years in there. A couple second places that I thought could have been firsts, but 2010, 2011 were some of my 2011 was some of my best looks. And I think Hani really brought out the best of me as a competitor. And then my other most obviously memorable years were my years with John. So I'd say 2014, 2015, 2016, more so 2014, 2015, because it was like it almost felt like a reemergence, because there was a period between there was the years 2012 and 13 were kind of hard for me because I had reached a point and I kind of got stuck, and then I was almost going backwards a little bit. And when I met John in 2014, he almost like reinvigorated my physique. And then I won a couple shows in 2015 with him. And then just the relationship I built with him. So I would say my favorite years, because I came back from not being my best, were probably 2014, 2015. I think my other most memorable years would be 2007 through 2011. Because when you're young and hungry, you have all the optimism in the world. You're like, there's just such a innocence behind that. And you're not, I don't know, you're just not, jaded is the wrong word, because I don't think I was ever jaded, but there is a reality that sets in as a competitor where you're like, okay, this is where I fall in the landscape of bodybuilding, right? Like when you're coming up, like let's say I'm 2007, 2008, 9, 10, I'm still, 27, 28, 29 years old. When you're coming up, you're like, I'm going to take the world by fucking storm. I'm going to be at the Arnold. I'm going to be at the Olympia. I might be a top 10 Olympian. I never thought I was going to be Mr. Olympia, but I was like, I'm going to fucking win some shows. And when it doesn't play out the way you want it to, there is a reality that sets in. You're like, okay, maybe I'm not an elite bodybuilder. Maybe I'm not at the top tier. Maybe I'm a second tier. And you start to come to this realization. That innocence of those early years is really awesome. Like you have the world by the balls. You're like, I'm going to, it's just this like really unrealistic, irrational expectations of yourself that You can just dominate everything. It's almost a delusion that you need to do great things, right? So those were great years. And then the years of having the realization of who you are, but still maximizing that, which is what John brought out of me, was also amazing. So those are probably the years I cherish the most.
Perfect world.
Okay, let's see. What do we got here? Who wins from the back, Phil Heath or Derek from the Arnold? Phil Heath, no doubt. I've said this before, and I know people don't like when I say this, but Derek has one of the best backs in bodybuilding right now. I think Phil's was nicer. But even if you said Derek's back was better, Phil had better arms. Phil had better shoulders. The glutes, let's call them even. Phil definitely had better hamstrings and calves. So when you look at a back shot, it's not just the back you're looking at. It's not just the glutes you're looking at. It's the entire posterior chain. What do the biceps look like when they peak? What is the sweep from the armpit to the elbow? What does that look like on the tricep? Then there's obviously the back itself, and then there's the shape of the glutes. What does the waist look like? What do the hips look like? And then obviously the secondary, or one of the other areas you're going to look at primarily is the hamstrings. You put your leg back, how much detail is in that hamstring? How much thickness is in that hamstring? And Phil's back shot was just completely balanced. I don't think Derek's hamstrings match his back. I don't think Derek's arms match his back. Derek's back itself is, I don't know, top 10 of backs of all time. But the back shot, as far as the entire posterior look, it's not up there with Phil, Ronnie, Dorian. Like these are much, much more elevated back shots, not just backs. So that's why when you say win from the back, you're not saying is his back compared to Phil. You're saying, does he win from the back? If that's the case, I have to take the entire posterior chain into consideration and not just the back itself. And in that regard, I think he still has a lot of work to do, but he can get there. I think he will. It's just going to take him some time. Blake Wrestler says, if you took gear, ate like a bodybuilder, but didn't resistance train, would you still grow? Yes. You'd probably get fat too, but there is, I believe, some studies out there that show just taking testosterone, like just increasing your testosterone, will grow muscle tissue. I don't know to what degree. I don't know how small. I'm not a scientist. I don't know if it's a small amount or a large amount. I don't know, but I do know that those studies exist. So you have to look it up yourself. But I don't know why you would do that, honestly. One of the things I always tell people is I never took steroids until I decided to compete. And look, to everybody, it's their own choice. If you want to take steroids and sit on the couch, go crazy. There is such a cost to pay when you take steroids that you should have a good reason, in my opinion. If I'm imparting any type of wisdom from my 20 years in bodybuilding or 25 years now, if you're going to take steroids, have a good reason, because there is repercussions. So it's not the steroids necessarily that are going to kill you. What they're going to do is they're going to speed up or exacerbate any issue that you may have genetically. And not everybody is a hyper responder in terms of clearing drugs and things like that. So I guess this isn't really the question, but I'm using this question to say, have a good reason. For me, my reason was competing because I was making a living. So my justification was, I have to make a living. I'm doing this to make a living. That's why I'm doing it. That might not be a good enough justification for some people. For some people, they might say the money's not worth it. That's still not a good trade. For me, that was the trade that I accepted. For other people, they might say, well, you know what? I want to look hot for my girlfriend. That might be their justification. Whatever it is, try and make sure it's a solid reason that makes some sense to you, because there is a repercussion. Don't take steroids and just sit on the couch and do fuck all. That is stupid, in my opinion. Coached by Stay, STE, I don't know. How does Grego fit the classic criteria? I know it's subjective, but in your opinion, oh, I'm gonna get fucking shit for this. Listen, the IFBB has decided that, in my opinion, classic is basically bodybuilding with a weight cap, but with emphasis more so on aesthetics. So I think the confusion is coming from the name classic. They should have called it something else, because when you say classic, people immediately think Arnold Schwarzenegger, Frank Zane, maybe Lee Haney fits into that category. I don't know. They don't think Mike Mentzer, Tom Platz. They think of long, lean, smaller, flowing physiques, not necessarily heavily muscled, dense physiques. That's kind of what people think when you say classic. But what the IFBB is saying is, look, this isn't that. What they're saying is, we have taken the bodybuilding category and put a weight cap on it so guys don't get too big and freaky, because we want to see like crisp, clean lines. And instead of judging it, when they judge bodybuilding, there's a heavy cost placed on muscularity. So you would say in bodybuilding, if I had to kind of break it down for you, I would say it's muscularity and then symmetry and conditioning. I would say we're equal, but muscularity is probably like 40% and the others are 30-30. Maybe that's the way they see it. If anything, it's all three are even, but if they do lean heavily to one, it's going to be to muscularity. Classic is kind of the opposite. It's like, if we're going to give a 40-30-30, it's going to be symmetry and aesthetics is 40, and then conditioning and muscularity is a 30-30. So that's kind of what they've done. And in that regard, Matt Grego fits the category perfectly. He's absolutely balanced. Every body part matches every single other body part. And he makes the weight cap. He gets in great condition. And his aesthetics are beautiful. He has a tiny waist, great X frame, great flowing quads, great lat flow from the front. He fits the category 100% in that regard. So again, I think the confusion is just with the name. I think it might do the IFBB some good to change the name of the category. Or they can leave it. I don't know. People can just understand that that's what classic bodybuilding is. But I think that's where the confusion is coming from ultimately. Moxus says, any plans to ever open a public training facility, possibly with the Bro Chat boys? We've tossed around the idea. Because, a lot of us are from Ontario. So, Ian's in Ottawa, me and Paul are in Windsor, Mike is in the middle in Toronto. And we've considered opening up something in Toronto with the four of us doing it. But, it's very hard. Everybody's kind of doing their own thing. I have HOSSTILE to worry about. Mike's got Wicked. Ian's got doing the app thing. Paul's got a full-time job. We all have enough time to make it happen. It's just the initiative to do it and the expendable cash to do it are a little bit, there might be barriers at this time. When I have expendable cash, it goes back into HOSSTILE. I'm sure Mike is the same with Wicked. So it's a little bit difficult for me to be involved at this time. Let's see. Where are we at here? Okay. SSJB Sue 10 says, I just want to give a huge shout out and thank you to all you do. Really appreciate the podcast. Thank you, brother. Human Poppy says, prep assholism, in quote, in brackets, was deep fatigue and lack of emotions with constant irritation. Okay, I get it. And how to communicate it to close people around us who have never experienced it. There is no way to communicate it. There's not. You will never get, listen, I've been around for a while, and people who don't compete will never, And saying it's not just competing. People who don't compete and put all they have into it and actually go through the suffering, like the hunger, this waking up in the middle of the night because you can't eat, or because you're starving because you can't eat, or if you're not natural, like the hormone fluctuations and the mood swings and the you can't really explain it to someone. You can tell somebody all day long, but they're not going to get it unless they felt it themselves. Look, this happened to me with my wife. When me and my wife met, she uh, was in the industry, so she thought she understood. These are bodybuilders, this is what they do. She worked for Muscle Tech, so she knew like Jay and Dexter and everybody, and this is who bodybuilders are. This is what they do. But when she was with me, I was great in the off season, and when it came to diet, I became kind of a prep asshole. And she was like, "Who the fuck is this guy, and why is he being an asshole?" And it kind of led to us not being together. Really, he was part of it. And then when we were apart, she did 3 shows of her own. She decided to compete. And when we got back together shortly after that, she's like, "I get it now. I understand. I understand the hunger. I understand the stress. I understand the lack of sleep. I understand the irritability." She's like, I get it. I just didn't know what it felt like." So that's like a very anecdotal but clear example of what I'm talking about. Now, at the same time, I think bodybuilders have to do a better job of not being a prep asshole and not using prep as an excuse to be an asshole. Um, I think a lot of times we do that. We're like, well, we're hungry. We get to fucking do and say whatever we want. Fuck you. It doesn't really work that way. If you have somebody good in your life, they'll put up with it. But it, I think we have to do a better job of, and it's easy for me to say now that I'm retired, but I did end up doing a better job of it later in my career. We have to do a better job of trying not to put people through those things because they aren't going to understand no matter how much you tell them. So inevitably it becomes incumbent upon us to do a better job not being that way, however that is possible. Chase MC says, Fouad, is it reasonable to take every last set of an exercise past failure 5 times a week? Depends how many exercises. Depends how many exercises, but no, it's not. Sorry, it is very reasonable to do that. The last set of every exercise is not a lot of sets. So let's say you're doing, I'm just going to give you the averages. Most people on average do 3 to 4 exercises for chest. They might do 4 or 5 for back. They might do 5 or 6 for legs. So what are you saying? Like, what does that really mean? Like you're doing 6, let's take 6 for legs. That means you're doing 6 sets to past failure. It's totally fine. 6 sets. Your body can recover from 6 sets. I promise you that. If you're eating enough food and you're sleeping enough and you're not doing any like hard, intense cardio, or you don't work a laborious job where you're like, you're digging ditches for a living, there's no reason why you can't recover from 6 sets. I think people are putting too much emphasis on overtraining and recovery. I don't even think most of the people that I see training are training hard enough to worry about recovery. Like, you have to understand something. There was a period of time where high volume was the metric, and guys were doing, and I'm one of those guys, we're doing 20 sets, 25 sets for a body part. Maybe 12 of them were to failure. 15 were to failure. We recovered just fine. I mean, I got up to 260 pounds on stage, like stage weight, not just, 250 and I'm fat. No, that was a 260 on stage. It's 300 pounds in the off season. I built a lot of muscle doing that high volume shit. And I'm not saying the low volume works or high volume works. That's not really the debate I'm getting into. What I'm getting into is your body is much more resilient than people are giving it credit for. I think all I see right now online is this narrative that it's all about recovery and you just don't do too much, don't do too many sets to failure. Be careful not like overexerting yourself. I mean, this whole thing Mike Israetel is talking about with axial fatigue and this shit makes me laugh. It's just a fucking joke. So you're telling me that your biceps aren't growing because you're standing and there's too much fatigue on your core or your lower back because you're standing? So your biceps aren't getting enough stimulation? So you have to lay down? Look, Mike is a very, very intelligent person, and I am taking nothing away from him, and maybe he's even right. But if you're fucking tired because you're standing when you're doing barbell curls and you think that's why your biceps aren't growing, there's a fucking problem in the industry as a whole. I promise you, your biceps will grow if you target them properly, whether you're standing, sitting, laying down. If the more force you can use, the more intensity you can shoot at them, and the more you can feel them, the more they're going to grow. And I'm just using that as one example, but this is the theme that I see playing over and over and over again in the industry, which is like, be careful, don't work too hard, don't, you might hurt yourself. Yeah, you might fucking hurt yourself. That's bodybuilding. If you take your shit to the limit, you might hurt yourself. But you might not hurt yourself. You might just grow a fuckload of legs. You might hurt yourself squatting. Sure. You might hurt yourself deadlifting. You might hurt yourself doing flat bench. That's what happens when you take your body to the limit. Okay. We are taking our bodies past their human genetic potential by using hormones and super supplements or whatever else you want to call them, peptides. Things are going to happen, right? So yes, you might hurt yourself. Yes, you might even overtrain sometimes, but you can recognize that, right? Like I'm of the mindset that I would rather go past the limit and then go, oh, fuck, I went past the limit and then scale it back than never reach the limit. That's the problem right now. People are scared to fucking reach the limit. So it's like, no, go past the limit. You'll feel it. Your body will tell you, oh, fuck, I'm really tired. Oh, fuck, I'm really sore. Oh, my appetite's gone. Oh, my sex drive is fucking hit the wall. Oh, whatever it is. I don't feel like training today. All of those things are encompassing of overtraining. Well, okay. If I start to feel that, then I'm like, oh, fuck, you know what? Maybe I'm going a little too hard. Maybe I need a deload week. Maybe I need to scale back on my sets a little bit. Maybe I need to eat a little more food. Maybe I need to sleep better, whatever it might be. But not reaching the limit is what I'm seeing right now. It's this overemphasis and hyper focus on, just be careful. The muscle's really delicate. Just do just enough. No, fuck that. The muscle is not delicate. Look at our fucking current Mr. Olympia. Samson's doing multiple sets to failure. Jay Cutler, multiple sets to failure. Ronnie Coleman, multiple sets to failure. Don't be fucking scared of training. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm getting like, get worked up when I talk about this shit. Don't be scared to fucking work hard. Okay. Your body can handle it. And if it can't, your body will tell you. But trust me, it's worse to never, ever have your body tell you. And don't just be like, oh, my legs are a little bit sore, so my recovery's bad. No, my legs were sore for 15 years straight. Okay. Like I would train legs on Monday and they would be sore until Friday. And then Saturday they would get a little better. And then Sunday they'd be great. I'm like, okay, Sunday, I feel good. Monday was the next day I'd have to fucking kill them again. Now, was that probably overkill? Maybe. I learned from John later on in my career that maybe 3 or 4 days of soreness is probably the best, not 6. But I still built massive fucking quads. You know what I mean? Like my quads were still just as big as everybody else's in IFBB and just as big as anybody else bodybuilding today. I mean, yeah, there's some bigger, obviously, like Samson's quads are fucking enormous. But I'm saying on average, I built the same level of quad as everybody else. I didn't worry about overtraining. I wasn't, you know what I mean? So like stop trying to figure out how to do less and start trying to figure out how to demand more from your body. That's what you should be doing. All right.
Perfect world.
Let's move on from this rant into something else. Okay. Okay. Aleo Legend says, hypothetically, if you were in your prime, the more you did, the more results you get. Example, more sets equals more growth, more calories, more growth. With no limit, what would your schedule look like? Ugh. Well, look, if you had some euphoric world where the more you did, the more you grew, then you would just train all fucking day long, every day. I just would never stop training. No, I mean, look, there's this is the opposite of the point I was just making, which is there is a point where you have to rest. There is a point where you can overtrain. I'm not like, that's not what I'm trying to say, but this question's a little bit, I know it's hypothetical, but it's a little bit silly because if you said to me, the more you do, the more you grow, and there's no limit, then I'm just going to train all day long, every single day. I'm just going to just do full body parts every single day, upper body, lower body every day, and just grow and keep growing. So I don't know. It's kind of a hard question to answer. Top 5 best feelings in the world. Interesting. Mr. Fitness says top 5 best feelings in the world. Number 1, love, success, sex, companionship, friendship. Is companionship and friendship the same thing? I guess companionship is a one person thing. Friendship is like a group of people. That's why I categorize them differently. I wonder if that's a good order. What did I say again? Love. Yeah, I put that first. Success is important to me. I would put that second. Sex is also important to me. I put that third. I think that works. Companionship would be with like the person you're with and like enjoying their time. And then friendship would be like having good friends and good people around you. I might want to throw family in there. Anyway, that's my 5. I don't know what your 5 would be. You guys have 5, put 5. I'm interested to see what your 5 would be in the comment section. Let's see. Jack Ferguson says, what's it like having a dry alcoholic as a best friend? I think you're referring to Paul. Paul is, well, I don't know what the term for a weed junkie is. Like, I know the term for an alcoholic, for someone who drinks too much alcohol or is addicted to alcohol as an alcoholic. I don't know what that would be for marijuana because they say you can't be addicted to marijuana, but they haven't met Paul yet. So I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, it's great. It's great. Paul's the best. There's nobody better than Paul, and I'm lucky to have him as a friend. Carter Wilson, what was your best memory with Paul? Not related directly to bodybuilding. Not related to bodybuilding. Fuck. Not related to bodybuilding. Because the first one that came to mind was related to bodybuilding. Not related to bodybuilding. Oh, that's tricky. I don't know. We've done a lot of shit together, but all of it's related. Like we've traveled a lot together and all of it's somehow connected to bodybuilding though. I feel like that's a really tough question to answer. I have to come back to it later if I can think of it. Kill Burn Underground says, are you going to make any more whiteboard videos or workout videos? I'm not sure, but people have been asking for cooking videos, and I did one on the weekend when I was or this past week when I was in Houston. I hadn't done one in a really long time, And I was like, I don't know if I want to do that anymore. I don't know if I enjoy it. I don't know if people enjoy them anymore, blah, blah, blah. But I did one and I actually had a lot of fun doing it. And it's going to come out soon. I hope you guys like it. But the more important part is I enjoyed doing it. So yeah, I think I might start doing some cooking stuff again. I don't know if I'll do whiteboard stuff. There's it depends. It depends on how I do it. There's something to be said for like, when I pull out a whiteboard and start talking about stuff, I feel like a lot of it is based on science and education and stuff like that. I don't know if the whiteboard is my way of relaying my information. I'm not a scientist, and I'm not educated in biomechanics or pharmacology or any of that. Whatever information I have is just my experience. Do I want to put that on a whiteboard? Sure. I just don't know if I have the level of I don't know if I want to go that route. I don't know if that's something I want to do again. If I do, it'd be something that is definitely in my wheelhouse and that I'm comfortable putting on a whiteboard, knowing that it's good information. But cooking is very individual. So it is something I think I want to start doing again. SARS Robert says, have you noticed any difference after taking stem cells? Yes. I basically can point to actual data in my kidney numbers, my EGFR, my creatinine levels. All those markers got better after my first round of stem cells and then my second round of stem cells. So it definitely did work. I think for the average person, it might cost like 10 or 20 grand. I don't know if it was that worth it, but it did work. Like, it did go up significantly. So if you have the money, it's definitely something I would recommend. Shell Emmett Fit says, would you consider bringing Figure to the Detroit Pro for a female division? If not, why? Well, I'll say this. I don't know if we want to bring another class next year at all. I think we might just keep it as Bodybuilding Classic for now. I'm not sure. If we did add another class, it would probably be wellness. And this is why. The most, how can I put it? I guess the reason I would pick wellness is mainly because it's probably the most popular female division right now. So it would really help boost the numbers of the show. Now, the secondary reason is I like what they do. And I'm not saying just like, oh, they have, big asses and that's great. That's not what I'm talking about. I like that they have to train hard. I like that they have to be in shape. And that goes for all the classes, the figure class. I like that they have to build a certain amount of muscle to win in wellness. And that also goes for women's physique and women's bodybuilding, everything. I guess the main deciding factor would be that it is the most popular women's class right now. And I think the one that's getting the most attention, and the one that might help the show grow the most. I know everybody wants their class at the show, but the show is a passion project, but still a business. So bodybuilding is my passion. That's the show. Like, if it was me, it might just have one class. If there was no business aspect to it at all, it might just be a bodybuilding show. But there are a lot of people that like classic, and classic is very close to bodybuilding. So we added that as well, which I really enjoy. After that, it becomes more about business, because those are the two classes I'm most passionate about. So I think after those two classes, it becomes more about business. And when it comes to business, you want to pick the most popular classes to get the most attention from the NPC athletes, or the most attention just for people watching the show. And to me, the two biggest women's classes are wellness and maybe bikini would be after that. So that's my answer. To be honest with you, just to touch on one more thing for Detroit, I've, well, I shouldn't say me, Paul, and Ben have considered just leaving it as a bodybuilding classic show forever because it makes the show run quickly. It keeps the energy very high. And they're two classes we're all very passionate about. So we don't know how it's going to go moving forward. We don't know what classes we're going to have in 2026 or for the future. I do envision the show one day being a massive show with all classes, but I just don't know. We're going to have to see how things go as the show grows. Let's see. We'll do a couple more, then we'll go. Josh Foley says, how did you adapt from being a singular focused athlete to becoming a business owner and having to deal with the chaos of multitasking? Well, I don't think the multitasking is the hard part I've had to deal with because luckily I have a really great team around me. I think the part I had to deal with was going from a singular athlete to working in a team environment. As a bodybuilder, you kind of do what you want to do when you want to do it. I feel like waking up at this time. I feel like eating at this time. I feel like training at this time. Everything is kind of geared to you. Even your training partners kind of do what you want to do when you want to do it because you're kind of the focus of the partnership. It's not like that when you're running a business with partners. You are part of a puzzle. You have to play your part. You have to shut the fuck up when it's not your turn to talk. And you have to rely on other people to do things. They have to be able to rely on you. It wasn't easy for me in the beginning. I didn't know how to be part of a team. There was some arguments, there was some ups and downs, and I think now we've kind of hit a groove where everybody kind of knows their role and the company's running along smoothly. And it took time. It just took time. It takes time. It takes a little bit of maturity. I mean, you have to be able to recognize your own faults and then adjust where you need to. Keziah the Great says, do you still want to be a father? I remember a while back you maybe entertained the thought of adoption or maybe methods to conceive. I don't know, man. I think that ship may have sailed. I don't know for sure. I'm a little bit older. My wife is a little bit older. And we talk about it sometimes, but I really feel like that time might have passed for us. Would I have loved to be a father? Yes. Do I think I would have been a good father? Yes. But you make choices in life, and I don't know if this is bodybuilding related. I assume it is. My wife's definitely is not bodybuilding related, but you make choices in life, and you are born with certain strengths and weaknesses, and this is just how it is for me. So I live through my friends. They have kids. They get to tell me what it's like to be a dad. I get to try and pretend and imagine, and that's kind of it for me, I guess. Would I have loved to be a father? Sure. Do I think it's going to happen? Probably not. Big Daniel's Lift says, what's one pose that you always had trouble posing with and one pose that you always clicked for you? It's funny because that changed as my bodybuilding career changed. Like when you're smaller, it's easier to do shit. As I got bigger, it got harder to do shit. I think as I got bigger, my side chest really didn't feel great to me. I couldn't figure out exactly where to twist my body or how much to lift my chest. It was always a little uncomfortable figuring that out, but it was really easy when I was smaller. Like 2008, 9, 10, great side chest. 2012, no, 2014, 15, 16, not so much. That's kind of weird how that happens. Like when your body gets bigger. My side tricep kind of always clicked. I always got it right, no matter how big I was. For some reason, I always felt comfortable in that pose. My body just went into it. Uh, Most of the poses, I was lucky. I didn't, when I look back at my posing now, there could have been a couple things I would have tweaked. But overall, I was pretty happy with my posing. I was like, it felt pretty natural to me. I could really feel my body in space. Like I didn't need to look at a mirror all the time. I could take photos and they would look the way I want them to look. So I don't know where, I don't know if that came just from a lot of practice. I don't know if it was just a naturally an easier thing for me, but I don't know. I was I clicked with pretty much all of them. The front lat spread I had to really work on because everybody generally pushes their chest up and out, and that never looked good on me. So I had to do more of a forward tilt. So the front lat spread was also a tricky one for me. The back lat spread, I could always get my lats spread, but I didn't always have my spine in the right position. Everything else was pretty good, but I liked my back double, my front double, my side tricep, my most muscular was always pretty good. Yeah, a couple poses I had trouble with. All right, we'll do one more and we'll go. Let's see here. Do you think Michaela Aycock's famous only legs focused style of workout can be used for athletes like Wesley and Logan? I would answer that, but I'm not sure exactly what it is, unless it's exactly what it says it is, which is only legs. Uh, I really can't answer this question because I don't know how long that's for. Is it something you do for a month? Is it something you do for 6 months? I don't really know enough about it. Last question here. JS Aesthetics says your most memorable show experience and who coached you at the time. Winning my first pro show at the Orlando Europa with John Meadows. Most memorable show experience. My wife was there. My best friend was there. John was there. No, John wasn't at that show, I don't think. No, I don't think John made it to that one. But I had been trying to win a pro show for so fucking long that finally, when it happened, I was like just so fucking elated that I finally like when you have so many close calls. I think I had like 3 or 4 second places before that. And I swear to God, 1 or 2 of them I should have won, which I'm not going to mention, but um it's kind of like just for everybody else too. My wife had been through a lot. Paul had been through a lot with me. We'd been training together for fucking 10 years at that time. Yeah, 10, I think. Yeah, probably about 10 or 11 years at that time. He'd been all through all the heartbreaks with me and like, the ups and downs of bodybuilding and shit. We shared a lot of sweat and blood in the gym. My wife had dealt with my, misery of not winning and the fucking all the preps and everything. And then when you finally win and they're both there, you're like, you get to kind of share it with them. And you're like, you know what? I put you guys through fucking hell. Well, I didn't put Paul through hell. Put my wife through hell. And she got to see a glimmer of like what it would of why, I guess. And me and Paul all the years in the gym, just pounding it out in the fucking gym to finally win one. And I kind of won it. I don't want to say I won it for him, but part of it was for him. Like, yeah, man, we did this together. Right. And then with John, also, almost like I don't want to say a father figure, but a older brother figure to kind of do that for him too was great. So yeah, that the Orlando Europa had to be, winning that show, even though it wasn't a big show. That had to be my greatest memorable show experience. Number 2, right behind it, would have been the 2011 Flex Pro. I had all 3 of my brothers in the audience, which did not happen often. And all 3 flew out to California to see me compete. I have video with them. I can hear them in the background talking and shit. So it's like a very, very clear, like what that weekend was like. And I competed and then we all went out to eat afterwards and it was great. So the Flex Pro 2011, the Orlando Europa 2015, two most memorable show experiences by far. I don't think much compares to those two. Anyways, we'll wrap it there. I got through a few of these. I hope I got you some good answers to some stuff. And until next time, we'll catch you on Bro Chat or Bodybuilding Bollocks, or maybe we have some one-on-ones coming up. But check out hostile.com for all the great merch and supplements. And until next time, thanks for watching.